Welcome to Creative Current, a podcast for those of us who want to get caught up in our creativity.
We're Jess and Jen, two friends and creatives who met in tech and realized we both spoke the same language of possibility, imagination, and creation.
We believe that creativity is a living force, powerful and magnetic. Like a current, you don't control it. And when you stop fighting it and let it move you, you realize it leads you to where you wanted to be all along.
This podcast is about staying with that current through self-doubt, uncertainty, and loneliness, and trusting that your creativity is worth it.
Over the next 12 weeks, we'll be following the artist's way, and we'll be discussing the chapters and our experiences doing the work. We see it as an opportunity to explore the depths of creativity and its connection to life's biggest questions and possibilities in a collaborative, community-building way.
We're really glad you're here. So hi, Jen.
Hey, Jess. Here we are at week 2.
Week 2. Oh my gosh. It already feels like it's flying by somehow.
I know. I also feel like a lot of work is happening. It feels like this is making way for a lot of stuff. How are you feeling in that regard?
Good. I feel like I am finally starting to sink in and get in the flow. Yeah.
I love that. Same. I loved this week. It's week 2 is recovering a sense of identity. And starting the week before this week, most of my work time was going in towards my website and writing all new copy for my website, reintroducing myself and my offerings. And so I was really in my identity space and kind of reclaiming that. And then to read this, it felt like so much just like permission and like sense making of things. It felt so, because I was like, I can totally see how I could have read this at a different time in my life and felt like it felt maybe far-fetched or didn't apply to me. And now it's like, just like, yes, 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 yes.
Ooh, I'm so excited to dig into that. What resonated with you the most then? Let's start there.
Yeah. So, I think that it is the very first heading of the chapter, which is called Going Sane. Instead of going crazy. And when I read that, I immediately knew what she was getting at. Because I'm like, yes, getting caught in the current of your creativity, that is what most people think of as being crazy or that we're afraid of will lead us to craziness. I think I even talked about that last week. My own deep-rooted fear around going crazy if I gave freedom to my creativity. And to contrast that with what I have found myself is that I am my most sane when I am fully enveloped in my creativity, when I am in flow, when I am connected to my creative power and voice. And I also feel that with you in our conversations when we are talking and I am actually saying what's true for me about my experience, because I know that you will understand it or have space for it or speak life into it or whatever. They feel like the most sane conversations I have, contrasted to other times when I feel like I'm having to contort myself in some way to make sense to other people because I feel like they won't understand me, or I feel like I'm just too much or whatever. That makes me feel crazy.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, so many people are at war in themselves between this thing that they really want to do, but they just believe they can't for whatever reason. And that is crazy making. If you actually do the thing, you find sanity.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. And for those of you listening, this chapter talks about poisonous playmates and crazy makers. And so when Jen says crazy making, we're referring to what constitutes a crazy maker. Jen, I am curious just to feel around in this a little bit more. But when you are feeling sane, how else would you describe that?
Um, okay, I would say I feel present.
Mm.
Um, I feel aligned. Is this what you're looking for? These
Yeah,
types of words?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Um, I feel like I'm being led towards something or to something rather than like chasing something or grasping or controlling,
Mm.
you know? Um, I feel able to receive. I feel like more in alignment with my higher self and like purpose, you know? That's what I feel like aligned to, I should say.
Beautiful. All of those words you described feel like such a grounding and calming place to be operating from, and like an absence of stress.
I think, can I ask you a question
Yeah,
first?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I would love to know like what resonated with you the most in this chapter.
Yes. Okay. A few themes really came forward for me. The first was where my time is going. That was a subtle message that I kept getting throughout this chapter. I think within this chapter, it talks about attention. It talks about, these characters in your life who might be taking your attention away from the art. And then also the self-doubt. So I think between where I have been splitting my time, and then where do I still have self-doubt and skepticism to unearth and shake loose? And the exercise is at the end, especially when it says, what are the topics you want to protect? Put those in the middle of the circle and write the list of names outside of the circle of people who are just maybe not ready to have discussions with about these topics yet. That list of names was so long.
Oh, okay. I am so glad that you brought this up.
Okay.
Okay, because this is a live conversation that I totally thought we would have on Marco Polo first, but here we
Let's do
go.
it.
Because one thing that has been really beautiful for me to like witness in you over the past little bit is how often you tell me about conversations you've had where you have talked about our podcast to other people before we even started recording, like the idea of it, the energy of it. And I've seen how you have like received support and excitement
Mm.
and shared that from that. Okay. And now I have never said this back to you, but I haven't told anybody.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Is this it's going to be a release moment, like a product, a
I'm like,
launch?
well, like when it's releasing, then I'll announce it to the world, you know, because I'm excited for this. I'm proud of this. I believe in this project, but I think I have been burned so many times
Mm.
by sharing things before I launch them or right when I'm at the edge. And then, and I'm just like, I believe in this so much. Like, why do I need to invite any negative energy in? And but I've also been challenged by you because I've been like, well, Jess has done this and she is like showing this self like belief and confidence in it by talking about it. And even though you might also be getting some negative energy, you're also have been like receiving some encouragement. So I've been definitely challenged by it, and I would love to hear more because now that you're saying that people went on the outside of other things, like tell me
Yeah.
more about that.
Okay. That is so interesting because, like, while this list is so long, every single person on that list knows that I'm doing a podcast. But I think where I stop it is always when they say, like, oh, what's the podcast going to be about? Or can I listen to it? When does it release? And then I say, oh, it's just about creative processes and we haven't launched a date yet. But I think I wanted to start doing that. This came from a place in December where I really wanted to gently play with the idea of letting my inner artist come out to other people around me. And I thought, what would be a scary thing you could tell people where that identity is showing up? And it would be to tell them that I'm starting a podcast about creativity and spirituality. And I thought, okay, well, what if we just say we're doing a podcast and let's see how that feels. You can tell like two people to start, and then if that doesn't feel good, let's stop. Um, but then after I told people, uh yeah, people started to have excited reactions, and it just started to feel comfortable, and it's making me re-relate to myself as I say it, of, oh, I have a podcast. And my other fear was telling people, oh, I'm doing a podcast. And they're like, oh my God, of course you are. Another girly pop doing a podcast. Like what? About what? Celebrity gossip or something? And just like completely like, ugh, so many people do podcasts. It's so cringy. And actually that's weird because I don't feel that way at all. And by saying it over to people, it's helped me land in our belief in it as I say it. And yeah, the reactions have been so encouraging. But that's where I've left it, just not telling them what it's about yet.
Wow. Oh my gosh, I'm really impressed by how thoughtful you are about all of that. Like who you told, and that like you had it all kind of set up as a experiment or game in your head, and it was about you. It was about you like trying on parts of these I are like it was you claiming it. It wasn't like yeah. And then I'm like that I'm also really impressed because I can tell that that probably changed the energy you had when you talked about it, and that you had boundaries. You didn't start overspilling and getting into areas where it would have been like the more uncertainty stuff that then people would have tried to
Yeah.
give you assurances for, or something that would backfire. So yeah, I'm just like having like boundaries and intentionality about it, I'm sure is also what led to people seeing it through your eyes more to be able to encourage you.
I do think that people pick up on the energy. And I noticed that because I am so excited about it and it's so genuine, they pick up on that energy and they respond and reflect it back. But I would love to also experiment with the not telling anybody side of the spectrum. And I'm so curious to ask you more about that. I happen to be a little bit of an oversharer, and I've always thought, so this is my like limited version of oversharing, but there is a lot of power in that too. So I would love to know your reasoning and how it is serving you.
Well, I think I think that the reasoning why I've kept it silent, I guess, is I I mean, I guess I'm like anticipating what people will say back, and it just I feel like I would have to do a lot of gymnastics around like how to present something to someone to get them to say something back that wouldn't feel like then I have to defend myself, you know?
Yeah.
Um and I'm just like, why would I do that? Like, why? Why would I do that when I am already like so sure of this? I am so sure of like what I want to do. I'm so sure that this is like a project that is inspired and that will bring value to my life, to Jess's life, to whoever listens. I have a lot of belief in it. And so um, it just I guess doesn't feel worth it to create any scenarios where then I could have blockers or negative things that come up. And maybe it's not 100% true. Like I did tell my husband, but I said it like very much kind of like in passing. Like I'm doing this podcast, or like I need to go. Like there was one night when I needed to we were reviewing our tech setup, and I was like I need to go do this, and because normally I don't work at night, for the
Oh, yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
But and then I maybe noticed it. Like I maybe mentioned it because my dad was here and he was helping me like redo my office, and I might have said this would be so helpful for when I'm podcasting. But that's a little different than saying I'm launching a podcast.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think I do have some work to do around how I share about things. I have launched so many creative projects into the world since I was very young. So I have a long track record of doing the thing and also of hearing back people's responses, people's discomfort, people's like wanting to be encouraging but falling really flat, you know?
So
And
relatable. Yeah.
and that's not to say that I haven't also been really encouraged and whatever, but it's just that like I don't I I just think I have learned that it's more likely that I'll receive things that are not really helpful compared to being helpful. And I really don't need a pat on the back right now. I'm like
Yeah.
that won't help me see this through because I already have that inside,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But I
That's
would
like,
love, oh, sorry, I would
no.
love to find a middle ground there where I feel like I am like able to authentically and freely share about what I'm doing, what I'm excited about with like everybody in my life equally. That has actually been like an intention and a dream of mine for like years now because I have gone through a lot of times where I felt like I have to hide a lot of pieces of myself to make other people comfortable. And so my dream would be able to do what you did, which is like share the full excitement without there being the space to have disappointment, discouragement come in.
Mhm. Mhm. Um, you're doing something that I think is so important to creatives, which is just to keep the seedling of the idea nourished, safe, protected, so it has time to grow and bloom into the flower it's supposed to bloom into. It's so interesting to hear you like recite some of these responses because they don't know how to be around the seed. They don't have the language. And yeah, I think, gosh, it is really interesting to dive into like what what makes somebody uncomfortable. And I would love to dissect that for myself because I still get triggered when people start to err over on that side of the spectrum. Um okay. And I don't know if I want to spend so much more time digging into this, but Jen, there was one more thing that I wanted to follow up on, which it sounds like cuz when you first explained why you weren't telling people, I thought, wow, that's really beautiful. And then you said you're looking for more of a middle ground. And I was thinking, oh, why? Like, what are you craving that you might not be experiencing right now that you'd be looking for? Like, what's that little gap that you envision?
Yeah, I think that's the piece of like where I feel like I am like my fully like embodied creative self in every situation.
Mm, mm,
And that's again, that has
mm.
been something that I have had intentions and inspired around, and I've made a lot of gains. But then when I read this chapter, I'm like, oh, but it's actually hard because what I am doing in some of those times where I'm not fully expressing myself is I'm having boundaries. Do you know what I mean? And like that
Yeah.
changes how you are. That like like I am maybe fully expressing myself by putting up a boundary to not share this one part of myself so that it's you know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
confusing. So I felt like I liked reading this and being like, okay, yes, there are people like just because yeah, even though I feel like this like best state self would be to be like completely the same all the time. I'm like, that is energy drain. And who is that serving at the end of the day? So I don't know. I would love to hear how you think about that. Like how do you think about like your energy and how you share it with people like in all parts of your life?
Yeah. That is, I think so, like for a while, especially as I was starting few years ago to uncover more of my creative self and let her shine through, um, there were people, let's see, very, 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 very close to me in my life who I loved deeply, they couldn't quite make the leap with me when I was so excited to share. That was a really big moment for me where I thought, oh, wow, some people that I am close to in my life just won't quite get this, and that's okay.
Yes. And listeners to this podcast, if you're on episode 2, you have probably found us and are listening because something resonates. And we just want to say that we are so excited to meet you because Jess and I both get blocked when we just envision publishing this podcast to the people that we know in our brains. And so we are just can't wait for the people that find this podcast organically and are drawn to it. And this is the type of conversation that you want to be having too.
Yes, yes. Also, God, as you said that, I feel there are my like closest friends in the world. They've been so supportive. They've been great. So, all of y'all, I'm not discussing you.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Very true. This is not about everybody.
No.
Okay, Jess, when you
Yep.
were saying that last thing, I had this thought because you were talking about this like responsibility you take upon yourself of how you share and what you're expecting of other people. And I'm like, oh, like that is also a piece that I feel like I have worked on is it's like, how might I share things that are actually like self-sabotage? Like I am actually might say some things, or I've done this maybe in the past where I've shared something and then gotten a response that then creates a whole bunch of conflict. Do you know what I mean? Because there's also like that whole component is it's like it's not always about what other people are doing, but it's like what are we like looking for confirmation of ourselves? And
Mhm.
like we have to be mindful of that because if I'm like really on the rocks about something and I'm struggling if I'm going to be able to have the ability to do it and then I like position this idea that I'm launching tomorrow as like how am I going to sustain it? How am I going to maintain it? Like, of course, the response I get back is going to be like, well, do you think you should put the brakes on it? Like, because
Totally.
the people that love me are trying to then help me solve the problem. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's why creative work is so holistically powerful for us because it makes you dig in and do work on so many levels.
Preach. Yes. Oh, I've never thought about that. Do you feel like you've mostly healed from that? Do you still feel yourself having a tendency to share something that is on the self-sabotagey end of the spectrum?
Yes. Yes. I mean, yes, and also but because I think like that's how things unfold for me. I mean, like um I have a very like fast-paced evolving creative life, I would say. There's kind of like always something coming and going and that there's a lot of adaptation and evolution to what I'm putting forth. And so I have so many of these examples and like so like and each one I encounter this in a new way. Like right now, the thing that I am like guarding and protecting is all around like finances and pricing for my next coaching offer because I am really feeling like called to this one direction and I am like I am not I don't feel totally safe there yet, you know, like claiming that price yet. And so I know that if I went and shared like this is what I'm thinking of raising my prices to, that I would invite that energy, that like doubt, that like skepticism, that like are you insane energy,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
But then also I like made myself say it to my coach because I'm meeting with her later today. So like yesterday I made myself say the number in a text because I was like if I get onto the call with her and I haven't yet said it, I will probably spend most of that call like hedging around well, I've been thinking about it, but I don't really know. And I'm like, no, I know this number. I just haven't caught everything up to it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
but like that's like my safe way to explore it, and then I eventually that will become public knowledge, like what it is, but I need to get safe with it first. And if I were to have shared it right away, I think I would have like ruined that whole growth, that this whole
Hmm.
growth cycle that I'm going through right now.
Hmm. I mean, so I have two responses to that, which is one, I think it's so interesting because wherever there's stickiness, it's just leading us back to something to heal with or sit with deeper internally. So I'm curious what that road is for you. But another thing I'm really interested, I don't know, Jen, if you have an answer for this, but I was just thinking about if anyone does listen to this podcast, and also actually, I mean, it's not a full disclosure. It's like it's an ego check for a second. I often, even though I'm sitting here being like, oh man, people are not giving me the right responses. There's a lot of times where I do not know what the right response is. And I'm letting people down and I'm disappointing them in real time. And I can sense it. And then I'm like, what the heck? I know exactly what I want when people say this. How come I can't give it? But to wind that around, I'm so curious to play in, Jen, how could we describe to people, how would you describe what you would want someone, how you would want someone on the other end to meet you? And I think this is interesting because, like, you could do that yourself by articulating this. Your higher self can also embody that conversation. So I'm kind of curious to just like feel around a little bit and add some texture of like, what does meeting someone in their loving look like with so much sharing of empowerment?
Wow. Wait, do you have an answer for this already?
I don't know. The what one thing that does come to mind, I went on a walk with somebody a few weeks ago and I felt like they really pulled out words out of the sky that felt so loving. And I went back and I was trying to actually dissect like what about that response made it feel so good. And I'm trying to think, Jen, because like you know what? Thinking about us, our Marco Polos, like you are a constant example of this for me. And the first thing I can think of right now is complete self acceptance. You offer me more self acceptance than I offer to myself sometimes. And the times that, especially around tender subjects topics where I'm just like, where there's more shadowy aspects, your acceptance of the situation of where I've been, where I want to go, that's the biggest unlock. I mean, I've cried from some of your Marco Polos, like deep, and yeah, deeply. So does that spark anything for you?
Yeah, yeah, it does. I mean, it's sparking a lot. So I'm like, okay. So I I think that I mean, like, I don't want to sound like I'm trying to fit this into the podcast, but I actually believe that like connection with creativity and access to like creative power is the way that people are able to do this, because you like, to me, access to like that creative power, that like life force power, is like what gives you the presence to be able to listen to someone and to see them. And you mentioned that this person you were on the walk with, that they pulled these things out of the air that were the most loving things. And that makes me feel of like the eyes of love. And I like that is something that I have heard other like creativity like coaches and creative people like kind of talk about, of like kind of doing visualizations where you channel like the eyes of love and think like how do the eyes of love see you when you're creating or whatever to help you like uncover blocks. But I'm like, we people can also access that state, but that is like channeling the higher energy and it's focusing in on the person that you're talking to. And it is so hard to do. I mean, it's not hard to do, but it takes a lot of energy because you also mentioned how you have seen this play out where you are listening to someone else talk and you want to respond, you know? Like, and it's still, for some reason, it's like it's hard or you can't, you know? And that's because it's like an energetic type of thing, like to get that download and to be able to like talk. And then I totally relate to that too, because I'm like, as a mom, I have two little kids and I am their eyes of love. Like I love them more than anyone in the world.
It's
Like I
beautiful.
love
Yeah.
them. And there are some times when we are having hard times and big feelings and I can see them. And I love them so much and I can like see. I see what they're feeling. I see all the circumstances and then I still yell at them to stop crying. Do you know what I mean? Like or I threaten them. Like I'm like if you don't stop kicking me like or stop screaming at me like I'm going to leave the room, you know? And I'm like that does not feel like how the eyes of love would respond. Like because I'm like it's so and then I so anyways, I'm just but then I like so I'm like also just acknowledging like the truth is like it's not like that would have to be like a perfect person that can always be in that state. And that's why like guarding our energy as creatives and like staying in contact with the things that bring us energy like allows us to be that person. But if somebody doesn't like and I think people can have access to that type of power. I should say that. Like other people get it through like spiritual practices of other ways.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't need to be that you're like writing or drawing or something like explicitly creative, but I think it's the same. I believe it's the same source.
Yeah.
And that's like I think where some people are able to do it or why some people are able to do it at some points, like you know when the veil is thin or when like
Mm,
they feel really connected, they're able to meet you in a place where they've never been able to meet you before, you know?
yeah. Yeah. Ooh. That's such an additive expansion of this of like so we mentioned self-acceptance and then it kind of dovetails into the work behind that, which I'm just so glad you called this out, Jen. The presence and seeing somebody and their work and their ideas through the eyes of love, like that is so downstream from investing in these practices that connect us back to our loving, to our spirituality, to our inner knowing. Yeah, I'm sure we could add a few more, but that's I love dismantling that. I love dismantling and like sort of figuring out how do we
That was such
what
a
are the
good question, Jess. Like, never thought that our conversation was going to go here when we started the podcast. I
I
mean,
know.
today's
I
episode, but I love
yeah.
that.
Okay, good. That was fun for me. I really loved that. And I know I feel like we are like almost about wrapping time. Well, Jen, if we want to like take a few minutes, maybe like 2 to 3 minutes to wrap this, is there anything, are there any closing thoughts? Like anything about the weekly activities that shifted anything in you?
Okay, I would say closing thoughts. This feels like a recommendation, which I don't know. But I'm like, if you are reading The Artist Way,
Mm.
um, I, along with us, I guess I would just like encourage people to find a way to like carve out a chunk of their life where they can go sane by going completely creatively crazy.
Yes,
And
yes.
just like let yourself like sit in that, like be in that, and like don't feel like you need to explain it to anyone until you feel like you have power coming from that place. Um, but yeah, I mean, like I like let's all just go sane. I
Let's
know.
all go sane.
Yes,
I
Jess,
love it.
I want to hear your final reflections, and also just so we don't wrap up
Yeah.
before then, I
Yeah.
do I want to like do a quick little check-in of how we actually did on the activities this week
Yeah.
after you.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, tell me, what do you want to go forth with after this week?
Okay. Great question. What I want to go forth with, I think, is with more attention. I feel like we didn't even really get to this, which I loved everything we talked about so much more, but um grounding and spending more time with the artist way and dipping into the process. Just for listeners, I feel like my life has been very up and down, very roller coasty. I'm sure many of you can relate. And so the next challenge for me is like another level of sinking into this work.
Love that. And you have a lot of crazy things happening going forward too. Like you're going on this big trip.
Yes. Yes, I will be in New York City for potentially 4 weeks, which is very different for me. So there's a lot to prepare for, but this work is so grounding always. So how do I carve that out on a daily
Yeah, it will
practice?
become, that's amazing. It will actually become your only grounding thing because you won't be in your home with your
Oh
routine and your
God.
norms.
That's beautiful and true. My
The
God.
timing couldn't be better.
True. The timing could not be better. Okay. I love that.
How did you do on like the, for lack of a better word, requirements? I think she calls them basic tools, the basic tools this week.
Oof. Well, I will say, gosh, that list is getting long now.
No.
I went on an artist date, so that
What'd
was
you do?
great. Well, I danced at this free concert that they had downtown San Francisco with friends of mine, and just we just danced under a disco ball, and it was such a warm night out, and it was like it was so fun. And dancing for me is always spiritual. It's always an artist date. I played with the way that I looked and dressed up, so that was great.
My goodness, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was so fun. The morning pages are still sticky for me. Gosh, I cannot believe I'm not s- to be continued in our upcoming weeks. I did the rest of the workshops. Writing down 20 things I want to do was harder than I thought. And then affirmations, I noticed where I was still sticking on some when she said go back and reread them.
I love that. Can you just clarify a little bit what you mean about getting what's sticky in the morning pages? Like not doing
Oh,
them?
yeah.
Not
Yeah, not doing them. I know that I know I need to do them and I will sit down and I'm writing bigger chunks. On Monday, I think I wrote for an hour and a half or 2 hours, but I was not doing them daily every day.
caught up.
And yeah. So, I think I know why that is. But that's okay. It's a process. It's a process.
Yes, it is. Um, I totally relate to the 20 things I want to do feeling really hard. I was like, why is it hard to know what I want to do in the activities? Um,
Why does 20 feel like
and
a lot?
yeah, and then I was like, maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's because I do the things I want to do more. Is it possibly a good thing? I don't know. Or is it because I'm out of touch? I my morning pages have been going good. I have been able to do them, and I feel like they've been like a very good source of life and energy and thought for me. Um, so I did do an artist date, and I'm wondering what you think. Does this qualify as I can continue counting it as an artist date? I signed up for this class. It's a techno music production class. It's like
Whoa.
very fun. And so
Whoa.
last week was my first one, and now but it's 4 weeks long. So I'm like, do I get to count that as my artist date, or does it start to get too structured? I don't know.
Absolutely. I
Okay,
think this
great.
for sure is the
Because I'm
artist date.
learning so much. I realized how much I loved learning something new. And like, for me, one of the most creatively expansive things is like having something that feels so out of reach to me and then finding that it's actually in my reach.
Ooh.
And like
Ooh.
we listen to so much techno music in our house for like
What?
dance parties. Like we listen to so much toddler techno and in
There's
my
toddler
dance
techno.
toddler techno. We listen to our Christmas music is techno. And so then this class was like pitched like in my like local community. So it's also in person, which is wonderful. Um but then the assignment last week was just to like capture some sounds from your life and then we're going to bring them and sample them and build music off of that. And I'm like, "Are you
What?
kidding me? Are you kidding me?" And so my sounds are like from the playground and my 2-year-old saying, "Oopsie daisy." Cutest voice. And other
Oh my.
random things. And I'm like, I cannot believe I'm going to get to make music.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Jen,
yes.
this is wild. This is like such the ultimate artist day. Oh my God.
Yeah, so
No confusion.
when my first song is ready, I will play it on the podcast.
Okay, please, please, please do. Safe space. All of the listeners will not be able to wait because I cannot wait. Oh
I
my God.
can't either. I can't even imagine how I will do that, but I'm like just trusting that this person's going to help me figure it out.
What a metaphor. What? Maybe I should do something like this in New York. Wow.
Yes. Oh my gosh, New York
Wow.
will have so many options.
Yeah. Oh, Jen, I also love that every time we talk, I'm genuinely learning new things about you on this podcast. And it is such a fun journey
Same.
every time, like surprise and delight.
I agree. I love this so much. Thank you so much for everything today, Jess. It was a wonderful.
Conversation. Yes, likewise. Okay, we shall see each other next week.
Bye.
Bye, Jen.